Let's get right into it. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're tracking a journey that happens literally every single day, right under our noses. We are tracing the epic and honestly pretty destructive life cycle of improperly discarded plastic, following it from our city streets all the way out to our vast marine ecosystems. It's a fascinating yet completely hidden reality of our modern waste pipelines. So let's trace this villain's journey.
Okay, let's dive into this. If you drop a plastic bottle on the street, does it just stay there? Well, it's a super common assumption, right? We see a piece of litter on the sidewalk, and we just kind of subconsciously assume its journey is over, like it's become a permanent, if ugly, fixture of the urban landscape. But the invisible reality of what happens to that dropped bottle, it is way more complex, and its ecological reach is absolutely massive. Which brings us to part 1, the path of plastic. Because when a plastic bottle misses the trash can, nature essentially takes over as the transit system. Rain and wind step in and become this relentless transportation network. Think about it like a snowball effect. Step 1, the bottle is dropped on the sidewalk. Step 2, a heavy rain washes that plastic straight into the city's storm drains. Now, those drains act as direct high-speed arteries to local streams, which then feed into larger rivers. And finally, step 4, those rivers act like giant conveyor belts, continuously dumping all that collected urban plastic right into our oceans. It's this highly efficient sequential pipeline, moving waste from your local street corner directly out to sea. And that leads us to section 2, a global ocean crisis. Because once that local stream empties into the ocean, the real tragedy begins. You see, out in the open ocean, plastic doesn't just disappear. It doesn't float around harmlessly, and it definitely doesn't dissolve in salt water. Instead, constant sun exposure and crashing waves trigger photodegradation. Basically, the plastic just breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces, microplastics. And this creates a devastating situation for marine wildlife. Fish, sea turtles, birds, they routinely mistake these floating fragments for food, or they get tangled up in the larger debris, which causes terrible sickness. When you scale that biological disruption across the entire ocean, you're looking at active worldwide biodiversity loss. Local synthetic waste suddenly becomes a massive global hazard. Zooming out a bit, we get to section 3, the global phenomenon. Let's look at exactly where all this migrating plastic accumulates. Now, what's really interesting about this is how deeply misunderstood the Great Pacific Garbage Patch actually is. A lot of people picture a solid island of trash that you could literally walk on. But actually, scratch that, it's not like that at all. It operates way more like a giant swirling soup of tiny microplastics. These suspended fragments have gathered from all over the world, trapped by converging ocean currents into one massive vortex. To put it into perspective, this patch is physically larger than many entire countries. It is the ultimate undeniable accumulation of our collective global waste. Because this problem is so massive and crosses so many borders, it demands a serious, coordinated global response. This scale of accumulation directly threatens the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 14, life below water. This global initiative is designed specifically to protect our marine environments and tackle exactly this kind of pervasive pollution. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is essentially ground zero for this fight, proving exactly why this UN goal is absolutely critical if we want to stabilize our planet's future. So how do we fix it? That brings us to section 4, the cleanup challenge. So the crucial point is the stark contrast between our intervention options here. Trying to clean up tiny, swirling plastic pieces scattered across vast, deep, churning ocean currents is, well, it's mind-bogglingly difficult. Even our absolute best technology can only do so much against a microscopic soup of plastics. But compare that immense logistical nightmare to the 2 seconds it takes to place a bottle into a recycling bin. That simple, localized action is entirely preventative. The sheer impossibility of cleaning up the ocean after the fact is exactly what makes stopping the plastic at its source so absolutely essential. Which empowers us for section 5, your everyday superpowers. Let's zoom back into your own hands. Let's do a quick mental check. Where do a fruit peel, a plastic wrapper, and a glass jar belong if we want to protect our planet? We all know the basics of sorting waste, right? But it is so worth pausing to realize that the destination of these everyday items literally dictates the future of our oceans. When we experience a little behavioral friction, like when we're in a rush or maybe a little confused by local recycling rules, it's super easy to just toss everything into the nearest bin. But making the intentional choice of where each specific material belongs, that is the exact mechanism that disrupts this whole villainous waste pipeline. Here's the breakdown. The fruit peel goes in the compost bin, the plastic wrapper in the trash can, and that glass jar belongs in the recycling bin.
It seems almost trivial, doesn't it? But getting the sorting right consistently is your ultimate preventative action. It cuts off the pipeline right at the source. When you ensure your recyclable materials actually enter the correct stream, you are actively severing that destructive journey from your hand to the ocean. You are systematically preventing local waste from becoming a global environmental crisis.
I want to share this really powerful quote straight from our source material today. Every piece of plastic we manage responsibly helps protect our beautiful oceans and the creatures that live in them. I mean, that perfectly hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? This isn't just about municipal waste management. It's about direct, tangible environmental responsibility. The individual choices we make every single day have a direct, measurable line to the systemic health of our oceans.
Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. If every piece of responsibly managed plastic is quite literally a life saved below water, what will you do with your next plastic bottle? The journey from your hand to the ocean is entirely up to you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep questioning the impact of the everyday, and I'll see you next time.